Well, after 3 late spring frosts, hail damage, our peaches have actually turned out pretty good. We actually have peaches even. It's quite surprising with all the hardships we've had so far. But as a result, we've done some pretty good pruning too, but we have a nice fruit crop, so we need to thin them. And this is probably one of the most difficult things for home gardeners to want to do. You usually want about 4, maybe 5, even 6 inches between fruit. That way, the individual fruits will size up and get bigger on you. If you leave all of these fruits on here like we're seeing, they'll be small. So to make sure we don't have any more damage from the frost or anything, kind of tap them. And these all are hanging on. If they were going to abort, they would fall off if you shake them like that. And of course, commercially, they do just shake the whole tree many times or knock them off individually. But you want to grab them and twist them, and see there's 2 small ones we've pulled off. We'll leave that one. And I usually just kind of go every other one. Now that is, again, very hard for people to do, but those 2 will size up nicely. And you can see up here we've got quite a few clusters, so we're going to twist those off. And we'll leave one actually out here on the end. There's 3 right there in a cluster. So this time of year at this size is a good time to start thinning them. And again, you'll get bigger fruit that way now that hopefully the frost have passed us up. So go out and check your fruit trees. You need to do the same with apples too. Any large fruit like that will actually help size it up. Now let's go take a look at some of our other newly planted small fruits and see how they're coming along. Well, about 6 weeks ago, we put in some new strawberry beds, some new cultivars that we wanted to try. Most of them have taken. There's a few that we actually lost thanks to the deer again, because they come in and they would like to top them and then they'd pull the entire transplant out. But now if you'll remember from that segment, I said that on newly established strawberry plantings like these, you do not want to let them flower on you. And if you'll look at this particular one right here, you can see that there's actually a stem that's sent up, a flower spike with some little berries on it. And it's really best for you to go in and pinch those out. And here's another one, it's a bloom spike, and just pinch those out. And the reason for that is because you really want this plant to get a lot of foliage growth on it, so it will get better established, bigger root system, and then it'll start sending out your runners and spreading and filling in. So any of these, again, flower spikes that you see like this, be sure and snap them out. And you may want to use some small pruners to get them out either way, but that puts more energy into the foliage, especially this first year. Now the same kind of holds true on our asparagus. We have one established row of asparagus. The spears are nice and thick and popping through. It's been in the ground probably 6 years, that particular planting. So we're harvesting almost 6, 7, 8, even 9 weeks long. Our newly planted asparagus beds though, we're just now starting to get the little spears to come up. And now remember, once those start coming up, you want to leave them and let them go ahead and fern out for the same principle of just getting more energy for the foliage to help get a better crown for next year's production. One area of the garden that has dramatically changed since spring is our pizza garden. Now, if you remember, our pizza garden consists of actually a garden the shape of a pizza. It's round and our border is a wheat, and it has grown from about 4 inches when we first started taping to well over 2 feet. So the wheat is actually getting ready to mature here pretty soon. And that's our border again, and it makes up each slice of the pizza pie. Now within the pizza garden we have things like sauce tomatoes, we have garlic, oregano, peppers, various types of actually vegetables and plant material that you would find on a pizza. So this is changing, and as it matures and really gets at its peak time, we'll show you how things have done, and of course we'll take you into the kitchen with Barb and find out how to use and prepare some of those things. Now you're probably wondering though, there's one area of the pizza that's missing. That's the cheese and the milk. Well, we've actually tried to provide that too with a topiary cow, and we've taken a lot of flack over this so far on some of the tours already. Some people have guessed it as a donkey and a armadillo and maybe even an anteater, but once we put a little weight on the cow, which we're thinking about calling Hortense even, she'll look just fine and blend in nicely to the pizza garden. Now I want to tell you a little bit how we did this topiary cow. We started out, Alan actually welded a frame for us using various pieces of metal, so it has a nice sturdy body with the legs that are stuck down in the ground. And so it's really quite a cavity, but again, it's nice and sturdy. And to save a little bit of money on stuffing it with the moss, some of the volunteers came up with a way to save a little bit of that time and effort. And what they did is just took shredded paper, put it in plastic bags that are recyclable, and we stuffed that in the cavity of the cow so we could fill up some of that space. Then between the plastic stuffed paper and the chicken wire, we have the moss, and that's what's holding it all together with the frame and the chicken wire. Now, the moss that we're using is actually a long stem or long fiber sphagnum moss. So it's longer pieces, it holds together better. We obviously soaked it down to start with because it's very dry, and then we just stuffed that in there. Again, you have to have the long fiber, long stem. And that again is what's all along the sides here. Then we just use chicken wire to hold it all together. Now, in planting, I'm using some of the other kind of moss. And this is just a regular peat moss that we've soaked down, and you can see it's so small it would fall out. But now that the other moss has shrank, you can come in and fill it in a little bit better, and it looks nicer and it'll still hold in. The plants that we're using are a creeping fig. And the creeping fig is vining. It's not a perennial, so it dies back. It's only an annual here in Oklahoma. And the traditional one, the leaves look a little bit more like this. But this one is actually a sport of that. It's got the crinkled curly leaves, and you can also get it variegated. And then we're just taking some wire cutters, cutting open if we've got a big root ball, planting these in, also planting some at the base of the feet. And as it begins to trellis up here at the ground, you can tie it in with some wire and get it to peg in, and it will even root into the moss. Now up here, once it starts to grow and spread a little bit, you can weave it in between the chicken wire. So it'll take a while for it to fill in, and I promise you in a few weeks, maybe even a month or so, it will look more like a cow, a topiary. And of course, topiaries are very popular. We've seen them at Ameriflora, shapes of Mickey Mouse, just all kinds of topiary designs. And it's something you might want to try in your own garden. Now the negative to this would be how much water. We'll have to water this sometimes 3 and 4 times a day. You don't want to let it dry out. And as a result, with it draining on the ground, that's going to really dictate what we can plant under here. And what I'm going to plant is a plant called baby tears, a common name. This one's real fibrous. This one's a little bit thicker stem. It also needs shade, so it will go right up directly under the cow where it's shaded and going to get a lot of water. In the long run, we hope to have a drip irrigation system on this, so where it will continually drip and keep it consistently moist so it doesn't dry out. But again, you need to think about the conditions you're providing for that type of planting, and it's a fun challenge, and the kids, of course, will love it. Now, speaking of kids, Mother's Day is next weekend, and this is something the kids may want to try. They can make them the gift themselves, and that's so important with kids. They like to make their own gifts, so it's kind of inexpensive. You need 4 paper bags, and you just roll the first paper bag down to about 2, 3, maybe 4 inches like we've done here. Insert a second bag, roll it down above that one, and then insert a third one. And again, you're just rolling the bag top down like this and inserting 3 bags, one after the other one. For the handle, you just take one, you cut the base out of the paper sack and roll it all the way to it, and then you just slip it over like we've done here, and that's the handle. And then you need to take some knitting needles or yarn needles, and then of course the parents or an adult may want to help on this, and you can attach it together, come up with designs. I've even seen them where they're putting the yarn right along the sides on each one, attaching them together, so it makes a nice little addition for a Mother's Day gift, especially if you put her favorite plant on the inside. Now we've taken some of the plastic bags, stuffed them in here so it'll design it better, and it will also hold the moisture better if you have to water the plants. Again, you can match the colors up. We've used some New Guinea impatiens that are a deep red color. There's even the dark red rose type impatient that's very popular now, a double. And again, the kids can pick the favorite one. One thing I found interesting even are there are lots of chrysanthemums being sold this spring, the Prophet series that have female names even. So you may even find a plant with the name of your mother, which would be a nice gift. So with recycling the paper bags and saving money, you can spend maybe $3, $5 on some 4-inch plants that fit in it. Makes a nice arrangement and can put it out in the garden later on. So kids, give it a try, and be sure and don't forget Mother's Day is next weekend.
We hope you've enjoyed this classic from the Oklahoma Gardening Vault. Remember, even though these tips and techniques are timeless, there's always something new to learn in the world of gardening. By subscribing to both Oklahoma Gardening and OK Gardening Classics, you'll have access to a wealth of gardening knowledge, both classic and contemporary.